Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 162 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network. Josh Ray joined alongside Nathan Durek, as per usual, talking all things soccer. We're getting into the holiday season, MLS off season, European footy season still underway, and all that. So, starting with the Vancouver Whitecaps, as per usual, big news: draw for the CONCACAF Champions Cup has happened. Vancouver will play against FC Saprissa of Costa Rica in the first round of the CONCACAF Champions Cup in February, and most notably, Kendall Wasson plays for Saprissa and will play against the Whitecaps for the first time since leaving them in 2018.
Yeah, as far as I know, Kendall Waston, I believe, is still the captain down in Saprissa.
Yeah, as far as I know.
36-year-old center back, though, now. So see how good that vertical that he had still is. I mean, he's 6'5" or something like that. So you don't have to jump too high, but still.
Still, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, Waston and left the Whitecaps on a pretty sour note.
Yeah.
Back in 2018, when then he joined FC Cincinnati, and he's been with Saprissa since 2020, 2021. So that'll be interesting for him. See what kind of atmosphere he gets at BC Place, if this game will be played at BC Place.
We all know that's always a question mark.
In February. So that's the CONCACAF Champions Cup draw for the Whitecaps. That's how they'll open their season.
Just taking a look at Saprissa right now in Costa Rica. They're second in their league there, 5 points behind Alajuelense, I believe.
Yeah, in the Apertura.
Yeah,
because they have the Apertura Clausura,
which is afterwards. So still, Apertura, I think they're pretty much got to be almost finished. They played 22 games. There's only 12 teams.
They're just about finished.
The Apertura's got to be just finished.
Yeah, here's the rest of the draw. So we have Vancouver, Saprissa. For the CPL teams, Monterrey will be against Forge, and Pumas will be against Cavalry. So massive test for the CPL teams. And what a way to start their season.
I know, right? And if I'm right, in the round of 6, or after that first round, isn't there a possibility that the Whitecaps could meet up with one of the Canadian teams?
Yeah, they can.
Yeah,
Forge. It's like the point of this bracket: Forge or Monterrey. If the Whitecaps advance to the round of 16.
If Forge takes out Monterrey, that would be wow.
Yeah,
Monterrey's no slouch.
Oh yeah, neither is Pumas. And imagine Cavalry taking them out.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
You got LAFC Colorado, Miami Sporting KC, 2 MLS matchups. Guadalajara, Cibao, Cruz Azul, Real Hope, Seattle, Antigua, Tigres Estelle, Cincinnati, Montagua, RSL, Herediano, and then a few teams have advanced to the round of 16 already by winning trophies.
Yeah. Very cool. That will be the Whitecaps' first game of the 2025 calendar year as well.
Yep. No date has been announced yet, but it'll be sometime in February.
Yeah.
So, MLS season is over. The MLS Cup champions are the LA Galaxy. 2-1 win over the New York Red Bulls down at Dignity Health Sports Park. Excuse me. Galaxy come out flying. Joseph Payne's son Gabriel Peck scores in the first 15 minutes. But off the set piece, Sean Nieves makes it interesting for the Red Bulls. Credit to the Red Bulls, they got back into the game. Just couldn't convert their chances. There was some good defending on both ends. It was a pretty entertaining game to watch. But at the end, the Galaxy prevail, even without Ricky Puig.
Yeah, I think the one thing you see with the Galaxy is they can build a midfield without Ricky Puig if they have to. Credit Delgado.
Yep.
Good game. Peck as well. We've seen Peck play at the very, very top. We've seen him drop very, very deep. another game where he was covering up a lot of space, and he can kind of fill those gaps in between the lines. You don't have someone like Puig, because Puig drops back so deep in terms of a midfielder. Like, he's pretty much taking the ball off the feet of center backs a lot of times.
Yeah.
As he's starting play. You don't really get a guy like that, but they are adaptable.
Yeah, and credit to the back line, led by their captain, Maya Yoshida.
Yeah.
When they stepped up the most, they did the job. And Gaston Brugman, too, in the midfield, also did a very good job as well. And
if I remember right, I think Brugman got the MVP of the match.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
John McCarthy, second MLS Cup in 3 years. Of course, he won it with LAFC in 2022 as the MVP. So it's also a big credit to Miki Yamane, like a right back. But when he went up the pitch with the ball, he looked very dangerous with his crosses and passes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was the LA Galaxy's MLS Cup to lose, and they won it. They just looked unstoppable for pretty much the whole year, and first time in 10 years. Kind of hard to believe. 10 years since the Galaxy won an MLS Cup. This is their sixth, the most in MLS. And what is even crazier is that they finished 13th in the Western Conference a year ago.
I know, right? The Galaxy is one of those teams that in recent history has fallen out of a lot of people's minds. They were not also the favorite son of Los Angeles anymore. You know, LAFC was this brand new shiny thing, bringing in all the Hollywood stars, bringing all the big names. But the LA Galaxy has quietly gone about and built a solid squad. I think how you saw them play in the regular season is emblematic of that. I mean, they were leading the Western Conference right up and until decision day. They were always going to be a strong contender. Yes, I know they're not the shiny LAFC. Everyone had them winning the West and kind of going on playing Miami. Well, you know, things change. I think not just in the playoffs, but looking at their regular season, they are absolutely deserved winners.
Yeah, deserved winners. And full credit to Greg Vanney, who wins his second MLS Cup as a coach. His first,
and good on him for winning it with the team that he played with.
Yeah, and when he was a player, he lost 3 of them.
I know, right?
With the Galaxy. So that's redemption for him. And over a year ago, there was talks, Galaxy should move on from this guy. Is he the guy going forward? But their ownership took a chance on Greg Vanney and gave him the squad that he needed.
Yeah.
Paintsel came in. Peck came in. Like, Peck won Newcomer of the Year. John McCarthy came in on a free. And, of course, they signed Marco Royce in the summer. Obviously, they had to clear out some names like Cucho, Hernandez, Raheem Edwards, and all of that. And it goes to show that if you build a good squad in 1-2 windows, you can instantly become a contender in MLS.
I mean, this is also where you look at how trades can operate within MLS.
Yeah.
There is a lot of movement that can happen, right? I mean, the different mechanisms, you know, we make fun of them and things like that. But if you are a very, very savvy sporting director, you can make them work for yourself. We'll talk about that later with the absolute bonkers MLS trade that happened earlier this week as well. But the Galaxy were smart. They were smart, not only from within, but also outside of MLS as well. Looking at players that they knew could excel, not necessarily DPs. Sometimes they were, but not necessarily, but would be able to almost function like what your expectation would be of a DP in this league.
Yeah, and like Peck really, like, he's not like a big shiny DP signing. He's not what Marco Royce is, like the shining signing, but look what he did. Newcomer of the year.
It's the sort of player that you want this league to sign. I get it. Marco Royce is a shiny, flashy player, and he's going to sell a lot of shirts.
Already has, in a way.
But Peck is the player that excites me.
Yeah, same with Paintsel too. And then
Mainsail
see,
took a while. He took a
yeah,
while, but he did pick up.
I mean that, as I always call them, the Fab Five: Royce, Paintsel, Puig, Joveljic, and Peck.
Yeah.
Good
And
core to
it's
build
funny that
around.
we didn't even mention Joveljic, right?
Yeah, I mean Joveljic, he was their goal leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. 19 goals in the league. I believe that's regular season and playoffs. But Peck in all competitions with, I believe, 20, 21. And for the Whitecaps, what they can learn is um, transfer windows. Build through that, build through trades, um, sign, be savvy. Like that's what Axel's always talked about, finding the right player. The Galaxy did that with their squad. And this is a good blueprint to follow. Like the Whitecaps have a good core, Ryan Gauld, Andres Kubis, Stuart Armstrong, Ranko Veselinovic, but the Galaxy surrounded Puig and Joveljic with talent,
Yeah.
and that's what the Whitecaps obviously need to do.
Well, you look at the spine that exists in the Galaxy, all the way back from their captain
Yeah,
through Puig when he's healthy and up through the forward. It's one of the strongest there is, right? And there are interchangeable pieces within that spine as well. Puig being the one that maybe was the big question mark. Is there someone that can actually play like him? I don't know if this final game really answered that question, but the team as a whole is adaptable.
yeah, and I mean for the Whitecaps, they just need to be savvy and find players that can adapt to. Well, it's kind of hard without a coach right now, but
Yeah, we
adapt.
don't know what the model is going to look like. Yeah, we have to wait for that. The only thing with the Whitecaps is you have to. I think a lot of us forget how young the scouting and recruitment departments are with the Whitecaps compared to other teams. The scouting department, I mean, that was basically created under Axel's watch. It didn't exist before. The recruitment, I mean, Quinn Thompson was just hired earlier this year to lead it.
Yeah,
So
and
these are our programs or departments in their infancy still. They've done well without them, but now that these are established, now that they've gone forward, now that we know that there's already been a lot of legwork before to get them to this point,
yeah,
it should be ready.
yeah, and well, as we said, the Whitecaps aren't that far off. Just need to make some tweaks here and there, and take a few pages out of the Galaxy book, and just find a way to tweak the squad for it to go from good to great. And who knows, maybe the Whitecaps could be where the Galaxy are in 12 months' time. So congratulations to the LA Galaxy and their fans, and special shout out to Edgar and the News Across the Galaxy crew for they get to see their team win another MLS Cup, which is always great. And yeah, I mean it's far cry from the days of Beckham, Keane, and Donovan, but this new generation of the Galaxy triumphs.
Tidbit is apparently, Keane was at the game.
Yeah.
And someone was asking him, and he, without confirming it, alluded to the fact that there may be a head coaching job somewhere in MLS that he is in talks with right now.
Who knows who could that be? Maybe that could be Vancouver.
Hey, he was most recently coaching a team in Israel, left, after, a situation down there, but he won the league.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Though I don't.
He is a winning coach.
Yeah, I doubt he'd want to come up to Vancouver. I mean, Keane was a very strong hater of the BC Place turf, but if he coaches, he doesn't have to play on it; just stand on it.
Yeah, exactly right.
So yeah, Galaxy MLS Cup champions, and we're full throttle into the MLS off season. The half trade window happened on Sunday, I believe, or Monday. Not much in terms of significance, but the one big trade, it did not involve players. It involved Colorado trading for all of Philadelphia's super draft picks, and that's all their picks for the next 3 years, which is crazy.
And all it cost him was $350K in GAM and a few performance-based add-ons. This actually works out, I believe, because I think one of the picks in those 3 years was already pre-traded away in something else. So I think it works out to 8 picks over 3 years. 3 of them are first-round picks.
Yeah, which is you don't see this in any other league.
No, well, you don't see a draft in any of the league. The one thing it does is it does throw into question: do teams still consider the draft important?
Well, the draft, like teams have the academies where
they have academies. They got players coming in. They're trading from elsewhere. Players that you're getting from a draft are coming from
NCAA.
Exactly. Colleges. So these players are already early 20s.
Yeah, and
you haven't been able to develop them in your system from 16, 17, or let's say even 18. You're losing a lot of those years. Do MLS clubs still look at the draft as worthwhile?
It depends on certain clubs. I mean, look at Seattle. They built through the super draft, like Jordan Morris, Christian Roldan, Paul Rothrock, Stephen Fry, even. I believe those are all super draft picks.
I think there's some teams out there that are still smart, can still do it. I was trying to think of the Whitecaps. I mean, Simon Betcher did have a few games before he was eventually traded away. And you know what? They got a good fee for him when he was traded. So, I mean, you could argue that, there was a bonus there.
Ryan Raposo was a super draft pick.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see what happens with him. He's in free agency right now. But by and large, you don't see it happen all that much. I think the super draft is good, especially for players that don't come through an academy system, which in these
Brian White was a super draft
happens quite a lot. But I do. Tristan Blackman was a first round draft pick.
Yeah. For LAFC. So I do believe the super draft is still important because there is talent in the NCAA soccer systems.
Put it this way then, has it diminished?
I feel like it has a little bit, especially with a trade like this.
Well, I'm looking at the trade, and the trade itself is nothing but the fact that $350K in GAM for this many picks. You go back 10 years ago even, and a first round pick was going for like 150, even a little bit north of that by itself.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see what the Union are doing because this is the first time in like over a decade or something they missed the playoffs, and it looks like they just want to keep pushing to get back into contention. So
I look at this, they're looking to buy a team. They're looking to buy a team. They've got a sporting director who maybe is a little bit untethered right now because he doesn't have a coach reining him in saying these are the guys I want.
Yep.
So he's just going nuts.
Let's not forget, I believe Union are one of the teams that built through these super drafts. So I guess they're changing their philosophy now that
they have a little bit. I don't know. Yeah, it is a strange one. It's one of those I don't think you'll see it too often, but man, it stands out there as the most MLS of MLS trades.
Yeah, and Colorado, I guess they want to build through the super draft college system, but that's how they found Moise Bombito.
Well, I mean, Colorado is strange. They were quiet for so many years. They were the bastard child of the Cronkies. And then last year, it was like the Cronkies all of a sudden realized that they had a team that was, not the Nuggets or someone else like that, right? And decided, oh, wait, we've got this MLS team. Maybe we should actually give them something. And last year, they started to invest.
Yeah, they bought a decent amount of players, including that Jordi Mihailovic.
Yeah.
And we'll see what they do with the Moise Bombito money.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
They're.
I don't know. I think interesting things are happening in Colorado. I wish they weren't owned by a team that also owns Arsenal, but
Yeah, also owns the Colorado Avalanche, Colorado Mammoth, and the LA Rams.
Yeah, lots. Cronky Sports and Entertainment, I think it is a massive organization.
There's a rumored trade, according to Nico Moreno of Sounder at Heart, that Whitecaps Cascadia rivals the Seattle Sounders is close to acquiring 23-year-old forward Jesus Ferreira from FC Dallas. Ferreira, seen as one of the best young attackers in MLS, a young DP, had a down year last season, and to be fair, was a pretty disappointing year for FC Dallas in general. Had a slow start. They never really recovered and missed the playoffs. So Seattle's looking to bolster their attack.
You know what? This guy, he's very young still. He's only 23 years old. So he still has a monster career, say an odd 10 odd years in front of him. Yeah, not a great year. Not a great year. Also attitude.
Any
issues as well. But
injuries as well.
You know what? A new environment can change that.
Yeah, and this you could probably see on the screen if you're watching live. Ferreira. This move depends on their ability to sign him to a contract extension in Seattle.
Yes, yeah.
And Seattle's attack, like Rui Diaz and Morris. I think Morris is still in his prime, like 27, 28, though he looks older. Like Rui Diaz is not getting any younger, and they need a true successor, and Ferreira could be that guy.
You know what? There is a bit of a risk with it, but if you can get a decent contract commitment out of him, I would say mainly with club options, right? Or performance-based options, where you might get, say, like with Fafa Picault in Vancouver, you hit so many goal contributions, we add another year. They can do that with Ferreira. It's not a bad hit.
I do believe in this player. I've always liked this player. Again, this is a down year for him, but he's good as a 9. He can play as a 10. Just an all-around attacker, agile, speedy. And the Sounders need a guy like to lead the attack who could score. Morris, he could score, but Ferreira can also provide that support.
Morris is also a guy that can go quiet too, though. He's taken a lot of flack over the years from Sounders as well, but I mean, he does find his way back. So,
yeah, and we'll see how this deal progresses. It's not official yet. It's being reported by Nico Moreno, who has been reliable in reporting on things in the past. So, upcoming off-season dates. As a reminder, the expansion draft for San Diego is today.
Yeah,
actually tonight.
Protected lists for all teams came out yesterday.
We'll bring them up in case you missed it. The Whitecaps there's actually been a trade. Speaking of San Diego,
and we've also got some Whitecaps news that just came through too. Here I'll start with the Whitecaps. Midfielders Jason Ngando and Ralph Priso have both been re-signed to brand new contracts. Let's see. Both have new contracts through to the end of 2025. Both have club options for 2026 and 2027. Two young midfielders. Both have now been re-signed and now be taken off the list of players that club options have been declined.
Yeah. Who's reporting this again? Bogert?
Whitecaps media release.
I'm just trying to find their official account.
Yeah, the Whitecaps just released it.
Oh, it's not. It's coming up on my Twitter. So Priso and Ngando re-signed. I'm not really too surprised from this. Ngando, remember, they paid up to draft him, so they have.
There has to be a big upside in Ngando. He did pretty decently in USL. Priso.
I mean, he took a while.
Minutes. He did play a bit more later on.
As I said, he looks better as a 6 than an 8.
I agree too. And I think somewhere where there's a lot of depth.
Then there could be something in this guy. It's not flashy, but
no.
If his ceiling is
athletic,
I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, it's highly athletic. When I talked to a guy in Colorado, and he said, very, very athletic, not necessarily the biggest soccer IQ. So we'll have to wait and see. Sorry, what was the rumor you were looking at?
Great, now I forgot. It just literally popped up on my feed, and it involved San Diego SC or FC. It's all very, soccer names are very confusing. Oh man, here's one from Bogert. Uh, Center back Andres Reyes is headed to San Diego from New York to the West Coast, 750K in GAM. He scored the goal that sent the Red Bulls to the MLS Cup, but missed the final with an illness.
Boger's actually also just updated that in the last minute, saying that the fee is closer to 800K in GAM. And rumor is that they're maybe Red Bull don't have to worry about any of their players being picked.
Yeah, so that's
what a
and
little
speaking of
handshake
Red Bulls,
agreement there, right?
Sports Illustrated Stadium is their stadium now, not Red Bull Arena, which is just wrong to me.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so San Diego FC is already starting to make moves, and oh yeah, the Whitecaps and their protected list. I'll just once again bring it
So
up.
we won't talk about the ones who are protected. We'll talk about the ones who are unprotected.
Yeah.
And
The
again,
most
there's
interesting one
not a
is
lot of surprisers, but there is some interesting ones.
Yoi Takaoka.
Yeah.
I highly doubt he's going to get picked. I'll be
I
very
don't think he's going
surprised
to
if he
get
doesn't.
picked because also he takes up an international roster spot, right? You know, those.
I doubt San Diego would want to use one of these picks on a goalkeeper as well.
I don't think so either. There is also some interesting. There is a couple of other interesting goalkeepers on that list that I think from other teams that would get picked likely first. I think the Whitecaps are fine. The only one that might get picked up if they can sign him is Fafa Picault.
Yeah, he's the most likely to get picked up. But seeing Takaoka on there is interesting, but I highly doubt he gets picked. And Takaoka his option was picked up anyway, but we'll see.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and some names around MLS that are on there, most significant is Lorenzo Insigne. Because Toronto's willing to do anything to get rid of him and his $15 million contract, but I doubt San Diego's picking that up.
No, I can't see that happening. He's unprotected because they can do it's a free spot. You know, they can throw someone in there and not have to worry about it because he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and expansion draft rather is to
7:30 tonight. You can see it on San Diego FC or SC, I think, .com. They'll have it up there live.
Yeah, and tomorrow's free agency and the end of year waivers. See if the
free agency only Ryan Raposo is eligible for it from the Whitecaps. He has mentioned he wants to test it, but he is also still in talks with the Whitecaps as well. After that, with the end of year waivers, you have the stage one of the reentry process.
That's the day after, on the 13th.
Yep.
So, yeah, we're getting full throttle into the MLS offseason, and Whitecaps have no coach as of yet, but we'll see what they do in terms of player movement.
Absolutely.
Okay, over to the Europe across the pond. One of the biggest days in the year for us, Chelsea versus Spurs, London derby. Classic Tottenham Hotspur, I could say. It's happened again. Tottenham Hotspur were up 2-0, but I wasn't worried. You probably were.
Yeah. Basuma and Sarr need to give their head a bit of a shake. I mean, Basuma especially, that tackle, there's absolutely – it was miles away from the ball. There was no excuse for something like that. But to give away 2 penalties in a game to one of your arch rivals is just stupid.
Yeah, though Marco Corella gave Spurs a head start because he did not know how to stand in the first half, and apparently he switched his boots at halftime, which explained a lot.
He switched his boots right after that second goal, actually.
Actually.
Minute.
And we saw it on his Instagram story. He posted after the game the boots that he switched to it. He took off just in the trash.
Yeah.
It just said, sorry.
I mean, yes, your boots are given to you by equipment, but you're responsible for your equipment.
Yeah, and he decided to impersonate Steven Gerrard in 2014 on both those goals.
Yes, right. Yeah, slipping horribly on both of those. No one around you. Don't know what to make of it. But Tottenham take an early 2-goal lead. Solanke in the 5th minute, Kulishevsky in the 11th, and it's looking great.
And then later, Chelsea push. Jadon Sancho just runs through the Spurs defense and blasts it past Fraser Forrester. This is a player that looks reborn. He looks fresh.
Yeah.
That was a Dortmund Jadon Sancho type of goal.
Yeah.
You never see him doing that at Man United.
Yeah, I would say first half worries. There was a big surprise in the lineup with Tottenham. The fact that both Christian Romero and Mickey van de Ven made the lineup. Both of these players had been out with injury for a number of weeks. Putting them both back in as a central pairing, again, best central pairing that your team has. I get it, but they're both coming back from injury.
For big injuries, not just small ones.
Exactly, right? And you know what? It hurt. I mean, Romero barely lasted a few minutes into the game, into the first half.
He got hurt again.
Had to be taken out.
Yeah.
Mickey van de Ven got to the second half, but he went down injured. He looks like he's okay, but you'd still have to worry about it because of him and his hamstring. But to add to the injury list, Brendan Johnson going down injured in the second half, that's your leading goal scorer.
Yeah.
So you've got a goalkeeper already out until after
losing your goal scorer.
Your center back pairing is out. You're playing a left back in as a center back right now. Your secondary scoring in Richarlison barely played a game. He's been injured. You've got 18-year-olds and 16-year-olds on the bench. Christian Romero, after the game, was giving an interview, I believe it was to Spanish media, and actually criticized the Tottenham board for a lack of spending.
Ooh.
Yeah.
One of your own players is saying that.
Yeah. I will tell you right now, Christian Romero has made a lot of fans with Tottenham supporters.
I mean, if I were a Tottenham fan, I'd agree.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, a lot of people are happy. And the thing is, Tottenham has been spending, but they've been spending forward thinking. Like, you take a look at the big players they bought in this window. Solanke. You had to overpay because he's English. Okay, but that's really the one player. Archie Gray, 18 years old, although he has been playing quite a lot. Lucas Bergvall, 18 years old.
I forget he's 18. I thought he was like 21.
Yeah. Now, these are players that are going to be phenomenal coming up, but who is for now, right?
Solanke is good, but not enough.
I mean, there's already rumors that Tottenham is talking to Gyeongjeon in South Korea about getting the one winger that they signed from that team to come early to Spurs so that he can start training in December and be ready to go in January because their league is already done. I mean, they need players that they can actually put on a pitch right now, not in their second team. And yeah, I don't know. That's
not just chill on the bench.
It's also another problem when you look at how Postecoglou wants to play, right?
Right.
Hardcore attack. It's entertaining, but it's also physically demanding.
Oh, yeah. They run around and how high the line is.
How high their line is. I mean, you take a look at their the fullbacks, which basically spend 3/4 of the game playing like another midfielder.
Pretty much. How high Pedro Porro runs up.
Pedro Porro has already got a handful of goals, right? There is a lot of questions. Is Postecoglou still the guy? They have not been doing well lately, losing skid. He is highly entertaining, and I think Postecoglou gets a bit of a pass because of the managers that Spurs had recently and the absolute boring football that we've had to watch. Espirito Santo is doing phenomenal right now. I get it. Garbage at Spurs. Conte, like watching paint dry. Mourinho was a weird one because it was right in the middle of COVID, and then he got let go right before a cup final. I still don't understand the whole Mourinho situation. He just seemed like a weird guy to bring into Spurs anyway because he's a Chelsea guy.
Yeah.
Well,
so it's Conte in a way.
He's a breath of fresh air. He's great. He's fun to watch. He's great in press conferences. He's, no filter on him as well. But he is still too rigid. And you take a look at the teams that he has managed, he's always been able to manage the team, Celtic, Yokohama, things like that.
But Tottenham's not the team.
No, you're managing a team that's in the upper echelon, but they're always in a dogfight. So you have to adapt to very, very differing situations in this league.
I think that's the thing. Hasn't adapted. And for Chelsea, Maresca ball continues to impress. I mean, that high press thing, quick counter, quick passing, just full on display, especially in that second half. First half, we could have done better in the final third. I mean, Jackson, his decision making with the ball, poor. There were times where he could have gotten a foot on it, didn't even bother. And there's footage of Jackson looking very ticked off after the game, but Maresca came up to him and shook his hand, gave him a pat on the shoulder. Just as a words of encouragement.
Yeah.
That's good management.
Yeah.
Maresca didn't call him out. He pretty much said, hey, you had a bad game, but keep your head up.
And there's questions about Maresca and how much of a player's manager he was. Little things like that definitely go a long way.
I think given that the team's in good form, the team is buying into the system. And I know social media doesn't paint the whole picture, but the fact that the players are constantly joking around, poking fun at each other in a good way on Instagram, it goes to show that there's harmony in the locker room. I guess winning also plays a huge factor. It does play a huge factor in that. But second half, Chelsea just came out firing. Could have scored like 3-4 goals if not for Fraser Forster, who I still can't believe he's still playing, by the way. But this guy's been around forever.
I still believe he's still playing either. But then again, when it comes to aging backups, I mean, it was him. We had Brad Friedel way back in the day. So we love our 40-year-old goalkeepers.
I mean, yeah, and Cole Palmer, kind of quiet in the first half, but can't keep the guy quiet for too long. Penalty kick, not once, but twice. Second one was
Panenka.
Panenka, I mean, he's just a chill guy.
Yeah.
Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
Nothing goes through that guy's head except football and chippy chips. So just a chill guy. 2 goals. When Spurs fans threw garbage at him on the corner kicks in the first half, didn't even faze him. He was even smiling. Just a chill guy. And then he gets the assist on Enzo Fernandez's goal. The way he just gets around Destiny Udogie.
Not just Udogie. I think he got through about 3 or 4 guys at that point.
Yeah. And then Enzo Fernandez, perfect one-time strike. I don't know. Again, this guy, since his divorce, he just turns into Zinedine Zidane. Maybe not be that. I think he's fully recovered from the hernia problem he had or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I guess it also helps that he's not being played like a box-to-box midfielder, though he is running up the pitch. But
well, you remember Enzo Fernandez. He also got into a little controversy with the singing song and all that stuff. And then you like you said, divorce. He's gotten to a point in his life where a lot of this outside stories are gone now. And now he can just play football, right?
Yeah.
Not only is his game simple, his life has gone simple.
Yeah, maybe less stress in his life. And he just, I mean, this is the player that they
may have taken an arm around his shoulder and just said, stop doing stupid things, right?
Yeah, Jackson, when Enzo scored, he tried to take off the shirt, but Jackson pretty much like, oh, keep it down, you're going to get booked.
Yeah. You got to keep, sometimes you got to keep reminding people to stop doing stupid stuff, but
yeah,
that's the sign of a good team. And right now, Chelsea is flying.
I mean, yeah, just having Enzo be that dictator in that midfield, I mean, that's refreshing to see. Pochettino kept using him as a box-to-box midfielder. Maresca finally understands the way Enzo Fernandez should be used. And maybe Moises Caicedo, another phenomenal game. He won the first penalty, though he did get away from getting sent off in the first half. Because when that tackle happened, I thought, oh, he might get sent off.
I think he was fine. I I like a hard tackling game. Yeah, it's a yellow. But I don't know. I find players like to sell, and I'm putting my own team in that as well. It bugs me. I wish it didn't happen. I wish you just let a referee just ref the game. You don't need to showcase stuff like that. But yeah.
And then Kulusevski could have gotten sent off as well for elbowing Romeo Lavia in the face.
Yeah.
I don't know how he didn't even get a card on that.
Lavia was high. I mean, they're both fighting for the ball. Also, the players coming in from behind Kulusevski, I mean, he had no knowledge the guy is there. But yeah, it's a foul. Again, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter at this point. Lavia was taken off at halftime. Not for that, though.
Yeah.
It was a tactical change, and Maresca said that Lavia is still dealing with a hamstring problem and didn't want to risk him.
That's fair. I mean, he was on a yellow, but I mean, look what happened. And look how well they came out in that second half. The second half was all Chelsea.
I mean, Gusto was brought on the bench. Caicedo was back in the midfield. And by the way, Caicedo as a right back didn't look that bad again. So this guy really knows how to adapt.
He knows how to adapt, but he does feel like he's being underutilized there.
Yeah, and Caicedo's really, again, you got to stop with the rough tackles because one of these days he's going to get sent off.
And Chelsea was able to make Spurs the victims of their
own demise.
Right?
Hey, Frank Lampard called White Hart Lane 3-point lane, and I am actually wearing a Lampard jersey right now, and I knew wearing that watching the game was good omen.
Maybe that was my problem. I got to put on a Spurs shirt.
And yeah, I mean, that is a championship mentality. Not championship, but the mentality of a title-winning squad. Down 2-0, did not phase them, just kept going and going.
You and I were talking about that just like after the game and whatnot, of the fact that Chelsea is not necessarily the team this year because, it takes them a while to gel. They have gelled, but Liverpool is just up and flying. But next year, I don't know. I think Chelsea is going to be, if they can keep doing what they're doing, they don't need to fine-tune a whole heck of a lot. Maybe find a goalkeeper.
And another defender.
Yeah, but Chelsea could be a very dangerous team. Very, very soon.
Because Robert Sanchez, again, made some mistakes with the ball in the first half. I don't think we're winning a title with him, or with defenders like Batty as Shield. Just need another defender or two and a competent goalkeeper to
Batty was a name that I honestly had forgotten about. So when I saw that he was playing, I was like, all right.
And I still think Liverpool's not gonna let this slip given their form unless something strange happens or unless they get a massive injury crisis. But for Chelsea to win the title, Arsenal and City have to constantly draw points as well. They need to obviously keep doing what they're doing, and especially that the run of form for the next 2 months has been pretty. It's I don't want to say easy, but it's favorable. Like there's not one top 6 side until February, I believe. So there's points to be taken, but I don't think this team is a title contender yet. But I'd say there's a title challenge. They can put pressure on Liverpool. They're putting pressure on Liverpool. There's still things they need to work on. This is still a young team. Let's not forget. But things are moving in the right direction. And it's great to see after a really rough couple of years under Potter, Lampard, and Pochettino. Maresca is building something special with his squad, and hopefully this is just the beginning of a new era of the Chelsea Renaissance because life looks good if you're a Chelsea fan right now.
Fair enough. Only other thing I've got to talk about with Spurs is, and again, there's the Canadian thing, is the whole saga that's developing over Jonathan David. Apparently, Spurs has moved up to the forefront of that race. Apparently, it was reported as of yesterday that they've already actually made an offer. Could be for up to £150,000 a week wages. The whole idea is that they want to get this done very, very quickly. So it'd be it'll be interesting. I know that there's a lot of other teams out there. I mean, Barcelona has definitely fallen to the bottom of all the teams.
Yeah.
But
Bayern are interested now.
Bayern, we've heard Arsenal for a long time.
Man United for a while.
Man United, so it'll be interesting. But yeah, lots of stuff going on. See if Tottenham's out there. If that happens, again, have to be still very, very curious of how David will play. I know he likes to drop back like Harry Kane used to. That's a good thing. I still wonder about the physicality of the game, but I think he's a step up from Richarlison. So,
do you play him in a 2-striker system with Solanke? I know Postecoglou doesn't really do that.
I don't think you'll do that because if you have your best attacking midfield of oh man, it's tough. You have 3 positions and you have 4 guys in Son, Johnson, Madison, and Kulusevski to throw in there, right? So it's a tough one. I see him being used as a lone striker, but I still think that he would be better than Richarlison.
Yeah, and up next for Chelsea tomorrow, they fly all the way to Kazakhstan, home of Borat. Play Astana FC, where the weather there is going to be at least minus 11 degrees. Since Nathan, you're from Edmonton, that's just another Sunday.
11 degrees or
Minus
negative 11 degrees. That's nothing.
Yeah, and then back to the Premier League. Tough test. Always has been a tough test, Brentford.
Spurs this Thursday, Europa League, Rangers, and then after that on the weekend, Sunday is away. Actually, sorry, not away. Southampton. Both those games at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
We'll see if Spurs pull off being another Robin Hood club again.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Rangers,
Southampton
doing well, but Southampton, they're a team at the bottom half of the table, so beware.
Yep. He's talking about Canadians. Alphonso Davies, injured in Bayern's league game over the weekend with a hamstring, did not play in the Champions League. The Bayern won 5-1.
Yeah.
Over Shakhtar Donetsk, I believe. And it seems that he's close to a new Bayern deal, according to multiple sources.
Yeah, a lot of the talk about him wanting to leave the club or, having a foot out the door has really, really quieted. I think he's found a home under Vincent Kompany.
Yep.
A bit of a revitalization, more permanency in his position. I mean, injury notwithstanding. It's looking, or Bayern are really fighting to keep him. They want to keep him, and you can understand why.
Yeah, and the rumors for Davies changes by the minute. 1 minute, it looks like he'll stay. Another minute, maybe he's off to Real Madrid or Manchester United or whatever.
Manchester United is really pushing out of any team out there. I mean, Real Madrid has always been in the conversation, but as of even the last month, Man United has really been pushing. So,
yeah, and we'll see where the Davies saga continues. And Jonathan David, speaking of him, for the weekend, a brace with Lille, and he hits the century mark in goals for Lille, and I believe he's now 3rd in the all-time goal rankings for Lille. Not bad. Yeah, 3-1 win over Brest.
Not bad. Already 100 goals for club, and what is he, 24?
Yeah, I mean, feels like he's been there forever, though.
I know.
But, yeah, David's stock continues to rise, and Lille are currently playing in the Champions League right now against SK Sturm Graz. And we'll see if David can get another goal.
There you go. Officially news. I mean, this is the biggest. We already knew what this was happening in football, but the men's World Cups for 2030 and 2034 have been officially handed out. 2030 is going to be hosted 3 ways between Spain, Portugal, and Morocco, with 1 game being played in Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay to celebrate the fact that this is the centenary celebration. First World Cup hosted in 1930 in Uruguay.
Yeah.
No other team was there, but because of this this awarding and because it was technically in 2 continents, only Oceania and Asia was eligible for 2034, and countries were only given 4 weeks to put together bids.
Which is
Only one did, and that was Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and as a result, as you can see, World Cup 2034, Saudi Arabia.
So both of these were given by acclamation because no one else was running against them, and there you go. Saudi Arabia in particular is going to be interesting. 15 stadiums, I think 4 have been built. 2 of the stadiums, one which is going to be on a cliffside in Riyadh, yet to be started, and the other one,
the city hasn't been built yet, right?
The city hasn't even been built yet. It's that weird futuristic city. I think they're calling it Neom or something like that. It's basically going to be a line that goes across the entire country, but they're going to build the stadium, and it's going to be basically elevated at the very top of this, what basically the city is going to be a wall 200 or 300 meters in the air or something like that. So, I mean, we've heard of World Cup bids happening. Stadium hasn't been built. We've never heard of the city hasn't been built.
City is just, that is just wild.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So it's 2030 though.
Obviously, a lot. This has also brought in a lot of groups saying that the lessons that should have been learned from Qatar were never learned. They're worried about migrant workers again,
which is definitely going to happen.
Head of Human Labor Relations has already spoken out against this. No surprises there. A couple of countries did abstain from voting. Excuse me. Norway in particular. I think Switzerland wanted extra information, but no one officially voted against.
Yeah. And 2030, I get why they had Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, but getting one game, then having a team fly all the way across the Atlantic. The next one is just
you see the World Cup always talks about meeting environmental commitments. When you're playing in 6 countries, 2 hemispheres, 3 continents, that's you're throwing that out the window.
This is overkill.
Yeah. So I don't know. I get the history of it or the historical significance, but do we need that?
No. And I can't imagine the team. Okay, we play this game in Argentina, and let's fly to Spain for our next game.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not from South America, so I'm betting someone from there is going to have a much different opinion. But the footprint of these ones is going to be it's just going to be stupid.
Yeah, it's just logistically poor.
Yeah.
And one final thing, back to the Premier League. Pep Guardiola has come out and said Man City will be his final club coaching job before he maybe coaches a country.
I don't think this is a shock to anyone. I mean, he's already spent time at some of the biggest clubs in the world, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, where he is now. I mean, by the end of the contract extension he just signed, it's going to be a decade at Man City, I think.
Yeah, I think, or close to a decade.
There's been a lot of talk, eventually he'll probably take over Spain at some point, add some World Cups or a World Cup or Euros to his resume.
Yeah.
Not a bad way to go off into the sunset.
Yep. And unfortunately, he's not doing right now.
No.
Not doing well. Another draw.
Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace of all people.
Of all teams. Rico Lewis gets sent off. I believe that was kind of harsh, though. Yeah. But Pep is under pressure right now.
Yes.
And City are, I believe, 3rd in the Premier League table.
You still have to think they're going to turn it around. But I think January is going to be very interesting to see how do they fill a Rodri-sized hole.
Yeah. And can they turn it around? Because many players aren't in form right now.
Yeah.
I saw a YouTube comment on the highlight package from the Zone, on their YouTube page. Someone said, Phil Foden has ghosted so much these past few months, I didn't even know he was out with illness. I just assumed he was just there not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. They're also an old team.
Yeah, as we said. I mean, Rico Lewis is one of the young guys, but he's 21 years old?
Yeah. There needs to be a lot of work there. I mean, hey, they got the money to do it. I mean, they're not Newcastle, but they need to do something. And I think January you're going to see Manchester City
be active in the
make at least one big splash. I don't know who it's going to
be,
but there's got to be one big splash.
Yeah, and I do believe City still has the capability to turn around, but January, that's going to be a big
That's going to be interesting because isn't that when some of the rulings for the 115 charters and all that's supposed to drop? January or February? I think it was January.
Something like that.
So, yeah, that could be an added kink into that.
Yeah, and interesting to see how Man City fares over the next few months.
Absolutely.
All right, so that concludes this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Follow me on Twitter, JoshuaReed00. Nathan is in Enduric. Podcast Terminal City FC. Follow us on Blue Sky as well. If you want to leave Twitter. It's basically our names, .bsky social. The links are also, the handles are in the description as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out the rest of the Area 51 Sports Network and our writing as well. We'll have more on whatever the Whitecaps do for the next few weeks. More soccer news, and I believe next week will be our last one before we take off for the holidays.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So that concludes this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.